Most businesses believe automation will stabilize revenue, but automation rarely fixes the financial pressure founders feel inside their company. Because revenue and cash are not the same thing. A business can automate operations, streamline workflows, and optimize productivity, and still experience unstable liquidity. The contradiction is simple. Revenue measures performance. Cash flow determines survival. Many founders discover this the hard way. Their dashboards show growth. Their contracts show momentum. But the bank balance tells a different story. And the reason is almost always the same. The timing of money changed. This matters for founders, CEOs, and operators far more than most strategy conversations acknowledge. Growth strategy is important. Market positioning is important. Sales execution is important. But none of those protect the company if liquidity becomes unstable. Because every operational decision eventually passes through the same gate. Cash availability, hiring depends on it. Marketing expansion depends on it. Vendor relationships depend on it. Payroll absolutely depends on it. By the end of this video, you'll understand why automation rarely stabilizes revenue and why disciplined cash flow control is the mechanism that actually protects operational stability. One of the most common misinterpretations founders make is believing their problem is sales volume. The thinking sounds reasonable. If we just increase revenue, everything will stabilize. More deals, more clients, more contracts, more growth. From a strategic perspective, this sounds like the right direction. But financially, it often introduces a sequencing problem. Revenue is recorded when a sale is made. Cash is received when the payment clears. Those are two very different events. Contracts create commitments, but commitments do not create liquidity. A founder might sign $200,000 in new business this quarter, yet only $60,000 of that might actually convert into cash during the same period. The rest sits inside receivables, which means the company looks successful while its liquidity remains constrained. Revenue looks strong. Cash flow feels tight, and that disconnect creates operational tension. This tension rarely appears all at once. It builds gradually through growth decisions. The company hires additional staff. Marketing budgets expand. Software subscriptions multiply. New tools get added. Maybe a larger office, maybe new contractors, maybe additional support staff. Each decision individually feels justified because revenue is growing. But each decision also increases fixed financial commitments. Payroll increases. Operating expenses increase. Monthly obligations increase. And then something subtle happens. Receivables start getting watched more closely. Vendor forward payments get delayed slightly. Approvals take longer. Financial reviews become more frequent. The founder checks the bank account more often. Not because revenue collapsed, but because liquidity feels less predictable. The system hasn't broken. But the margin of safety has narrowed. 3 structural risks usually sit underneath this situation. First risk, revenue is not liquidity. Revenue measures business activity. Liquidity measures available cash. A business can produce significant revenue while having limited available cash. This happens when payment terms are extended, invoices are delayed, or receivables accumulate. The financial statement shows performance. The bank balance shows timing. Second risk, fixed cost sensitivity. As companies grow, fixed commitments increase. Payroll becomes larger. Subscriptions accumulate. Operational overhead expands. These commitments require predictable cash outflow every month. If cash inflow timing becomes inconsistent, the pressure multiplies. Not because the business failed, but because fixed obligations became too sensitive to timing shifts. Third risk, decision timing exposure. Many growth decisions are made using revenue projections, but financial commitments are paid using cash. If decisions are made before cash converts from revenue into liquidity, the company becomes exposed. Growth decisions begin relying on expected money instead of available money, and expectations do not pay expenses. Consider a simple scenario. A consulting firm generates $150,000 in monthly revenue. Their average payment terms are 45 days, which means revenue earned in January might not convert to cash until mid-March. Now, assume the company has $90,000 in fixed monthly expenses. Payroll, software, marketing, administrative costs. Everything seems manageable. Revenue exceeds expenses. But then the company decides to hire 2 additional team members. Payroll increases by $25,000 per month. Total monthly expenses rise to $115,000. Still manageable on paper. But now introduce a common delay event. A major client pays 2 weeks late. Another client pushes payment into the following month. Suddenly, the expected cash inflow shifts. Expenses remain fixed. Cash inflow becomes uneven. Even though revenue remains strong, liquidity temporarily compresses. Nothing collapsed, but the margin for error disappeared. That is how cash flow instability begins. To maintain stability, founders need a simple control framework. Principle 1. Separate revenue metrics from cash metrics. Track both independently. Revenue measures growth. Cash flow measures operational safety. A business should monitor not just how much revenue is earned, but how quickly it converts into available cash. Principle 2. Sequence commitments after cash conversion. Major commitments should follow liquidity confirmation, not projections, not optimistic assumptions. Actual converted cash. This preserves operational flexibility. Principle 3. Stress test fixed cost expansion. Before increasing fixed costs, model what happens if receivables slow by 15 to 30 days. If the system becomes fragile, under that scenario, expansion is happening too early. Stability must precede scale. When cash flow sequencing stays misaligned for too long, the company becomes fragile. Credit lines begin covering operational gaps. Decisions become reactive instead of strategic. Founders spend more time managing financial tension than building the business. Opportunities get delayed. Optionality disappears, not because the company lacks revenue, but because liquidity lost its discipline. Revenue fuels growth. Liquidity protects survival. The founders who understand this build businesses that feel stable even during expansion. The ones who ignore it often experience financial pressure despite strong sales. If you value structured breakdowns like this, focused on financial control and operational stability,